Hi everyone, my name is Danny from Danny's Book Corner, and today, as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the book Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda with its movie adaptation, Love, Simon. So let's get right into it. I already have a review up of Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I will link that up here or up here. I'm not sure where the link code shows up, but I will link that there and in the down bar down below if you want to go check that out. I'm going to warn you that this video is going to have spoilers for both the movie and the book. So if you haven't watched or read either of them, I would recommend you not watch this video, be past this point. So you can come back to this video after you've watched the movie, or if you don't care, just go ahead and watch this video. I don't care, but you have been warned that you will be spoiled. So, without further ado, let's continue. So, I was lucky enough to go to an early showing of Love, Simon on March 16th, and as you can tell by when you're watching this, you'll watch this in April, and yes, you're probably asking me, why in the world did I not do this video sooner? Mostly because of school, and I also wanted to have really nice lighting, and now I have really nice lighting because I just used the window that's right over there. So, and now I have nice lighting to this video. So overall thoughts of the movie was that I thought that this was I think that this was probably the best book-to-movie adaptation of a YA novel, and actually, you know what, I'm even going to say this is probably one of the best movie adaptations of any book that I've seen in a very long time, and definitely for the best that I've seen of a YA novel in recent years. I mean, honestly, the Hunger Games ones were pretty good, but this is the best contemporary novel one that I've seen in a very long time. Like, honestly, Paper Towns and The Fault in Our Stars, honestly, I didn't think were all that great. I mean, they were okay, but not like Love, Simon. Like, Love, Simon, I feel, really kept the integrity of the story without changing too much to it. Of course, they changed things because it's a different medium, but I feel like they kept the integrity of the story, and I felt like I had the same kind of feelings and the same emotions as I was watching the movie as when I was reading the book, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I feel like with this movie, it really just takes the book characters, like the characters are exactly how I picture them, or just how I imagine them. They're not necessarily how I picture them, like in my mind, because I feel like, so what some people do is like they kind of picture like these characters as they're reading a book as like specific movie characters. They weren't the people that I was thinking of, but they definitely act how I thought they would act. And I feel like this movie just brought all those characters that I loved in the book right to life. I really appreciate that they actually used some quotes directly from the book in the movie. I always love seeing that. I think in a couple of book-to-movie adaptations I've seen that. I believe it was Mockingjay, I think. They used a quote directly from the book, and I was like, I heard it, I was like, yes. So the same thing happened with Love, Simon, and I really like when producers do that, because as someone who's read the book, I really like seeing that. Now, one thing that confused me, because I have obviously read the book before, was when they were kind of going through the people that Simon thought would be blue, because the first person that they show is Bram, and I got really confused because I know who Blue is, and I'm going to try not to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. So I was kind of confused, because also I'm pretty sure in the book he thought that Cal was the first person that he thought would be blue. And also there was this inclusion of this dude Lyle from like Waffle House or whatever, and I was like, who in the world is that? I don't think that was in the book. And I went back and checked, and I'm pretty sure he's not in the book. So that was what was kind of confusing, but I do actually like how they kind of were showing it. It was just confusing with the first person that they showed as blue, just because as someone who has read the book, if you haven't read the book, you wouldn't be confused by that. But reading the book first, I was kind of confused by that. I felt like the movie missed a lot of that Simon and Bram action that we have at the end of the novel, and I was kind of wish that there was a little bit more of that. I mean, there was like a little snippet at the end of the movie, but there was definitely more at the end of the novel, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I mean, I guess I can see why they cut it out, because honestly, it wasn't really that necessary after he found who Blue was. But, I don't know, it kind of would have been nice to see a little bit of that. So one thing I will say about the movie, there must be a heavy endorsement from Apple, because there are so many specific placement of Apple products. Like, I can clearly see the Apple on the back. Like a lot of movies I've seen, you don't really see it, like on a tablet or a computer or whatever. It's very clearly in a lot of computers and tablets and phones in this movie. So I'm pretty sure Apple had something to do with it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's Apple product placement in this movie. Also, I almost cried twice while watching this movie, so if you're planning to see this movie, I would bring tissues. Overall, I thought it was a great movie, it's a great book-to-movie adaptation, and remember to bring tissues. So now I'm going to go over some things that were in the movie, but were not in the book. First thing is Nora's kind of passion for baking. I'm pretty sure that was not included in the novel. Also, Lee's crush on Simon. Lee never crushed on Simon. Lee was totally crushing on Nick, and I was kind of felt weird that they kind of messed with that as in the secondary conflict. So it felt kind of weird about it, but it kind of worked out. The way that they did the plot and the storyline, it did work out, but I was just kind of weirded out about that. I was like, really? But it worked out. Also, one thing that my friend pointed out, which she is still annoyed by, is that they changed Simon's email. So they made Simon's email from my window 1 and not hour to hour dot note to note. So my friend was quite annoyed by that. I mean, if you read the book, you would know that, but he is still able to figure it out. Although I know that is like a good key for Blue to figure out who Simon is and whatnot. But I mean, he still figured it out, so it's okay, I guess. But a little tidbit that they changed that would probably annoy some people that have read the book before the movie. Also, I'm pretty sure Martin didn't do that whole like pep talk in Waffle House, which I thought was kind of weird, and I just felt like such secondhand embarrassment from watching that scene. But that was so much in character for Martin, but was never mentioned in the book. But I'm not mad about that scene at all. Also, Martin asking Abby out in front of the whole school at the football game, I'm like, well, that was also part of Martin's thing. But I felt like Martin was a little bit less dependent on Simon in that sense. Like, I feel like that was kind of a little bit out of character for him. But it was still kind of like, again, I got like secondhand embarrassment from watching that scene, and it kind of really showed like how much he wanted to be with Abby and all that stuff. But it does feed into why Martin broadcasts Simon's sexuality over the Tumblr. So it does feed into that. It does make a lot of sense though. Also, like, Bram and Simon's kiss on the Ferris wheel with everyone watching, like, I kind of wish that they kept it like in the book where they have a private moment. I kind of wish they kept it more private, but I also understand, like, why they did it like that, because it's like, oh, everyone knows, like, might as well just do it in front of the whole school, I guess. So it worked out, but I don't know. I guess it depends on your opinion on that. It doesn't really totally bother me, but I do wish it was a little bit more private. What I did like that they included in the movie is that they include this character, Ethan, who's a boy who's been out since he was 16 years old. So I like seeing Simon talk with him about his experiences and stuff, because Simon's, coming out and to the whole school and everything, and Ethan's gone through that. So I like seeing those things together. And that did play into, like, the bullying thing. Like, that made a little bit more sense because, well, once Simon's out, then it goes after both Ethan and Simon. And so I liked seeing that perspective as well. Also, there was a school authority figure named Mr. Worth. I don't remember what his position was. All I know is that his name was Mr. Worth. He was so funny. I loved having his character. Like, anytime they cut to him, I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny. So he was definitely that comic relief character, and I really liked seeing that in the movie. Because I feel like you definitely need that when you're watching a movie, because I feel like it's a little serious at times, so you need that little bit of a comic relief character. And as I said earlier, there's the addition of Lyle from Waffle House, who was never mentioned in the book, but he does, I think they need to add, like, another character who Simon thought could be Blue, because at the very, like, right before the Ferris wheel scene, he thinks that it could be Martin, but he doesn't even really even consider it, whereas in the book he really considers that Martin could be. So yeah, it did add to the air of mystery in the movie, so I think it worked for the movie. So now I'm going to go over things that were in the book but were not included in the movie. One thing that definitely did annoy me that wasn't in the movie was that they completely obliterated Simon's older sister, Alice. I thought that was kind of a little bit annoying and weird. Also, they eliminated Lee's whole thing with the band, which I think added another element to Lee's character. I was kind of annoyed that they excluded that, but I do understand why they did it, because that would have added at least maybe like 10 or 15 minutes onto the film. So I do understand that, like, they have a certain amount of time that they're gonna have an audience for, so I understand why they probably cut that scene out. Although I do think it adds to Lee's character, especially when you're reading the book. I think it's very beneficial for the book. So again, as I mentioned before, Lee's crush on Nick is not mentioned at all, and thus like how Lee is harsh to Abby sometimes, because I feel like you don't really see that. I feel like you don't really see that tension between Leah and Abby in the movie. Although there is a tension, but it's not shown in that way, and I feel like it's much less than there is in the book. Because Abby gets mad at Simon for actively trying to prevent her from getting with Nick, because Nick thinks that Lee likes her, so Lee and Nick go on a date and all of that stuff. So it is shown under different circumstances, but like, I feel like there was much less tension between Leah and Abby. Also, there was no mention of the Elliott Smith t-shirt, which I was kind of annoyed that they didn't do, because I thought that was really such a sweet moment. I was like, oh my god, like, that would have been so cool to put in the movie. Like, that wouldn't have taken that much longer, although that would have added like more mystery to the idea of Blue. but they did it another way in the movie, as I've said multiple times in this video already. And also the t-shirt is the way that Bram knows it's Simon, because he wears a t-shirt when they first meet, and I think that would have been so cute, but they didn't include it, but it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Also, they totally, in the movie, they do not include the restaurant slash like bar scene after the first performance of the play during the school day, and I think that's never mentioned because they don't, that adds yet another layer of like why Abby and Lee have this conflict between each other, and that also is why Simon is grounded and has his phone taken away, whereas in the movie he's only has his phone taken away for one day, and that's by Mr. Worth. So I feel like they did include like that part and like that effect on Simon, but just in a much different way. And again, I think the bar and restaurant thing would have added a lot of time to the movie, which they probably didn't have. And the final thing that they mentioned in the book that is not in the movie is Simon's email that mentions the Homo Sapiens agenda, because, you know, that explains the whole title of the book. Well, then again, they changed the title of the movie, so I understand why they didn't mention that email at all. Also, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens agenda is just a really long name for a movie. For a book, like, you know, that's okay, but for a movie, that's a really long name. So I totally understand why they changed it to Love, Simon. I don't have a huge problem with them changing the name of the movie versus the book, because it honestly just makes sense. Alright, so that's really all I have for you guys to compare the book and the movie. Let me know what you guys thought down below of the book versus the movie. Have you read the book? Have you watched the movie? Let me know all your thoughts down below. If you want to see more content from me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you want to be notified when I post a new video, don't forget to hit the bell icon right next to the subscribe button. And I guess I will just see you guys all later.